Friends, this Saturday I'll take you through yet another interesting tool, IT based of course, that is more misused than used by the students, developers, and certain elements of the society whose antecedents are questionable. They're criminals, they're inimical to the society. Suppose you are looking to develop an application and are a little weak on the logic or syntax. No worries. Today, one can practically get any source code, any image, or any video on an open source platform called GitHub. This is internet hosting provider for software development, distributed version control, and source code management functionality. Many students, of course not all of them, submit even their projects and home assignments sourcing help from here. Now that of course is not ethical. On the other hand, some extremely useful applications have been developed here, though it has also been the source for some extremely abhorring crimes. It then is imperative that we understand the GitHub. Frank Lloyd Wright, an American architect who designed more than 1,000 structures over a creative period of 70 years. He is a structural engineer and an architect. He once said, you can use an eraser on the drafting table or a sledgehammer on the construction site. So what he meant is very, very obvious. Programming or developing code is similar. You either do it correct, plan it correct, or you will spend lots of time trying to correct it. Do you remember Bully or Sully deals that have been in the news in the recent past? Is there anything common between the two? Interestingly, or unfortunately for the victims, both were derogatory to women and both were hosted on the GitHub. More than 80 million developers of applications across the world use GitHub today. Several of them upload complete or part code on it that is shared, improved upon, and published. You use it as it is, you improve upon it, either way you publish it. Today, it's the largest repository for code examples. New projects are ideated, innovated, developed, debugged, updated, and stored along with their versions throughout their life cycles. Virtually, any file can be a part of the Git project. It is like a social networking site for programmers and is very, very special. Now, since Git encourages recording of even small changes, programmers, whether they are beginners or experts, can trace the steps of some of the most gifted developers in the world and find out how they solved difficult or complex problems. Since it allows practically anyone to upload anything, in a way, it's free intelligence and experience that's made available to you. It's not all surprising that the students take to it as an important code learning tutorial platform. If they manage to improve the code, it's even better. They get credits for the changes they suggest in the code or for developed applications, which then they can use in the resumes for their employment. Are the employment market seeking new ways of learning? Maybe. The greatest strength of GitHub is its open source model that encourages open collaboration. Source code, blueprints, documentation, they're all freely available to the public. Truly a great source of application and code development platform or tool for students and faculty. Look at it in a different context. It could even be a great repository for innovative and shared teaching methodologies and project-based learning. Like there is a flip side to everything, even this one has a flip side. It can be misused as much as is used. In 2014, GitHub hosted various copies of suicidal, tendencies and actually a suicide model manual originating from Russia. What happened then? Roskomnadzor, the Federal Service of Supervision of Communications and IT in Russia, promptly banned it because this was creating panic within the society. Now, with files such as terrorism database, desc.pdf, terrorism.rnd, freely available on GitHub. And mind you, there is also a dark web version of GitHub called git.psi, going live. These are going live. Governments must be truly worried as much as the people. What you are seeing in the window are some global terrorism databases that contain over 1 lakh of terrorist incidents worldwide with over 100 different attributes for each incident. The purpose of showing this is to make you aware of what can happen. Our institutions and universities must be more vigilant. Unfortunately, most of the students copy code and design new applications and present them as their own creations, as their own assignments, which then pass muster for lack of complete understanding and availability of the right tools for detection. Using GitHub is very, very simple. Navigate to the project board, click menu, click copy, under owner, click repository and copy the project board. That's all that is required to be done by an engineering or a science student or anyone for that matter to copy a project. Now then make a few changes to represent a different concept, a different idea, and you have a working code with you now that executes your idea. Problem solving, project-based learning and coding are 3 skills that every institute uses today. However, contrived use of GitHub kills the spirit of these initiatives. Copying from anywhere is unethical, even if it is copied from GitHub, an open source platform. How does GitHub ensure what is uploaded on it is not pirated? Or how does an institute ensure what is submitted as an assignment is not a copy-paste from GitHub? These questions need answers. Of course, there is a copy detect code plagiarism detection tool based on document fingerprinting. The question is, how many of our colleges use it anyway? Is not project-based learning rendered completely useless then, redundant? That both Bullybye and Solideal's applications allowed auction of women of a certain community is disgusting. That this is not the last time, nor is the ultimate in disgust, is the concern. Universities must wake up before more scandals follow. Did you know that GitHub even hosts code to create deepfakes which can damage reputations apart from bringing down governments? Deepfakes are synthetic media in which a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. One can even create non-consensual porn videos, using the technology. That GitHub allows anything and everything to be shared is a security risk. That it encourages moral turpitude in young minds is a deep concern. Conducting is the art of directing a great musical performance. The conductors in music performances. With several musicians in tandem, great music can be created by an expert conductor. Similarly, with an innovative and motivated conductor in the IT domain, a few students could be brainwashed into developing applications that can spread fear, that can spread terror, anger, and everything else. Vested interests, terrorist organizations, foreign agencies, inimical to a country's interests would all have a field day. Bullybye application use the same code, same source code as Solideal's, available on the GitHub. That some young engineering students were arrested for their role in developing the applications is unfortunate. That they used source code on GitHub is doubly unfortunate. In July 2021, that's last year, close to 80 women were auctioned on Solideal's application. First time was bad enough. What precautions were taken by GitHub to prevent its repetition? 6 months later, Bullybye application was hosted on it, apparently with similar code, sourced again on GitHub, when pictures of 100 women were auctioned. Once maybe learning, what is it if it happens a second time? Why cannot GitHub be blamed and action taken? Did you know that GitHub can be prosecuted only under the US justice system under MLAT provisions, which is very, very challenging? Should our country not take note of the potential damage that can be inflicted? The Indian government does not monitor GitHub the same way for content as it does the other social media platforms. Remember, GitHub is a social media platform for code generation, for programmers. This must change. Having said that, how does one distinguish the difference between coding content that we routinely put up on Facebook and the coding content that we find on GitHub? For example, the programming language that we see on GitHub. That's a real challenge indeed. Suppose one were to do it. Is moderating all that happens on the GitHub then a solution? Extremely difficult, because it's hosted by millions of developers across the world Most of it is in Java and other programming languages. If one were to moderate it, every project and millions of lines of code would need to be tracked from the source to finish. Just not going to work. However, banning it would probably be throwing the baby out with the bathtub. Did you know that some rockstar projects that drive technology today are developed on GitHub, such as jQuery, HTML5, boilerplate, and Ruby on Rails? Sharing intelligence allows convergence of solutions faster. Individual working may create exceptionally brilliant solutions, but may take years to fruition. In a world where collaboration is the key, more platforms like GitHub will eventually come up. However, content on them must be tracked heuristically and based on a set of keywords, and elimination must happen before uploads happen. As happens in operating systems, 2 or 3-step authentication and social media profiling of the people who are potential uploaders must be done before a candidate is registered to work on GitHub. A student's login must ensure his credentials are authenticated and recorded whether he uses a public or a private login. Above all, expecting acceptable work ethics is important. Moral behavior is important. But believing that a moral system is valid for all is also fundamentally immoral. It doesn't work. Friends, I have enjoyed bringing this episode to you this Saturday. I hope you have felt the same listening to it. Technology can be used and can be misused. The choice is ours. I believe you will make considered judgments in life and progress towards your own and others' well-being. Friends, that's all for today. Until we meet the next Saturday, Dhanyavad, thank you and Namaskar.